All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I am with Juan O Savin once again, and it looks like everything's Juan's been talking about for a while is transpiring right now. And I'm going to bring up the article to prove it. It says here that Trump is sending submarines, nuclear submarines, in response to Medvedev. Trump orders deployment of nuclear subs in response to Medvedev. I mean, this is pretty serious. You've always said that it's going to lead to some kind of nuclear standoff or showdown with Russia, you've said, and you've been saying this, Juanito, for years. For years. Um, what? How do you feel about all this happening right now, Juan?
Well, and remember that before the Ukraine war started, Lavrov, who lives in the presidential compound uh, near Putin and where we have mutual friends, uh, said exactly what I said, and I'd been saying for quite some time. But Lavrov, literally quoted me word for word. This is going to be like the Cuban Missile Crisis if we don't change course on this thing. Find a way to
So,
get around it.
so Trump has given Putin. He's shortened the 50-day deal, the peace deal deadline. What happens now? So, how many days does Putin have, and what happens if an agreement is not met?
Well, he said 8 to 10 days, or 10 to 12 days. We're down to 8 to 10 now. And but let me finish answering something you asked about a second ago first. Uh, Trump um, re um, located a couple of nuclear submarines based on what his statement was. Of course, flight time for the uh, missiles or torpedoes is a little different, blocking locations. And you have to put this in context of things that have happened over the last few months. About 2 months ago, there was a drone attack that took a year to prepare, involved NATO forces and/or U.S. to pull it off, that took out about half of Putin's nuclear air strike capability. So the only thing they can respond with effectively is the other half, highly diminished airstrike capability aircraft, or their submarines, or their airborne missiles. Now, the Quake off of the coast of Russia, by the way, numerous people have noted the fact they didn't see what's called a P wave. I haven't had a chance to review the data personally, but if there isn't a P wave, that is an indication of artificiality.
Wow. So you're
Triggered at a location where it was ready to go, but artificially triggered. It
also we didn't see the tsunamis like we should have seen. Does that have anything to do with it? I mean, people were expecting massive tsunamis, which we should have seen, but I stayed up all night
well,
waiting to see one.
it
Is that
it it's hard to say. I haven't seen the data myself, and I'd be curious to have some of the conversations with the guys that deal with this more directly. But the interesting thing about that location is that it's near the Kamchatka Peninsula, where they have their submarine basing that's huge, and huge numbers of submarines that they field uh, that are deployed continuously. Now, it's very likely that some of the port facility there was damaged, but the problem for them is a lot of those submarines are out at sea. The ones that are there in the port may very well not be able to be serviced completely or quickly or in the numbers that would normally occur. That becomes a logistical problem for them. I'm sure they're working through it, and they're not going to tell anybody how bad it is. Although our satellite surveillance and spy system probably has a pretty good idea what their situation is. The second thing is that the subs that are at sea have a period of time that they're functional. They can service them with surface ships and resupply them and do things and keep them going, but they're going to be uh, tested very hard. So within the Trump world, they know that Russia's up against it. Uh, it doesn't mean they're on the ropes necessarily, but they're certainly not having a good hair day.
Okay, but
Uh,
could we come to a deal or an arrangement? I mean, does it look likely, or does this look like we're heading off into Cuban, in your opinion, to Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0, and we could come down to a thin line of anything can happen? Does it look like that's looks like where it's headed? I mean, I've heard Medvedev is a very hard person to deal with. Juanito. Oh man.
Pissing contest with numerous times. Yeah.
All
You
right.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, you froze up. So is Medvedev
Okay.
a real
I've told your audience, numerous other audiences repeatedly, Medvedev is like the bad cop. He's the hard head. He's the hard hat. Uh, he's going to push as hard as he can. If Putin was to expire today, which of course we've got the cancer stuff out there, he says he's doing pretty good, but there's questions how healthy Putin really is right now. If Putin was to go, it would be Medvedev, according to most people's understanding, that would take the helm. And if Medvedev came into power, he's the one that said all the way along he'd have turned Kiev to glass. He wouldn't have lost all these Russian troops fighting in Ukraine.
so they are playing good
And a
cop,
lot
bad
of
cop.
bombs. Why?
Is it-
Well, but again, the Russian people are absolutely livid that they've lost so many troops and citizens in the Donbass area. They were treating this with kid gloves, trying not to bring NATO in. And from the European side, they've been just getting their heads beat in, trying not to escalate this whole thing. It's cost huge numbers of Russian lives, military and civilian. And, did it gain them anything? It hasn't. That's why Medvedev sounds like a genius to many Russians, because he wouldn't have played this game. You'd have a million Russians still alive, and Kiev turned to glass. Now come invade us. So when Medvedev says what he says, he's being very stoic, hardliner, etc. Trump just got in a pissing match with him. You really want to be this way? So he's redeployed subs at a moment when, to all the world, uh, they look pretty tough, but in reality, they probably got hurt pretty bad on their subs. And so they've got really one solid area left to respond: hypersonic missiles and intercontinental ballistic missiles. The sub stuff's a serious threat. There's no doubt about it. Um, what's our response to the hypersonic missiles and the intercontinental ballistic missiles? We have the spraying that I've talked to your audience about many times. It's related to SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, that helps us to not be as vulnerable to intercontinental ballistic missiles because they come in on a free fall, like a bullet. They're just on a trajectory. Hypersonic missiles is a different matter, but we do have laser systems on certain aircraft that allow us to intercept that reasonably
Juan, Juan,
effectively.
Juan, let me ask you
Yeah.
this. So if we're sending our subs off the coast of Russia, correct? Is that what you said?
Well, we have them there all the time. We've just
Okay,
moved
but
them into a more
they have their
strategic.
subs off the coast of off Alaska.
Yes.
I know that for sure. And off
Well,
the
they have lots of subs, but again, the problem is right now they're probably fairly evenly deployed. But since the quake, can they maintain that deployment?
ah ah
And because all of that stuff still, you got crews that have to have, supplies and things like that. We've got them strained. Can you service them? Things break. Things have to be serviced. Are you going to be able to service that side? Um, so they're
eh,
getting backed into a corner.
do they are they sure, or do they know that the earthquake was artificial? And I mean, we could
Well, I'm
assume that
not
they
saying
do
the
it.
earthquake was artificial. I'm saying that others have said that certain things that are indicative of an artificial quake are there in the data.
Okay.
Missing things, the P wave, which is a key indicator. If that's true, and I don't have knowledge because I haven't looked at the data myself directly yet, uh, true, that would be a very interesting thing.
So where do you see this headed now, Juanito? I mean, with the deadline approaching, do you see an agreement that could be made, or do you see this goes right to the wire?
Well, Trump thinks that the deal can be made because he's pushing their buttons. You know, at this level, somebody like Trump isn't doing this ill-advised or unadvised. He believes that the moment to pull something off and get it done is right now, and that he has maximum leverage right now. That's why he's pushing. He's creating these circumstances. He was at 50 days. But I'll tell you the one thing that's here in this window that most people wouldn't have any clue about. First off, this is the 9th of Av month.
Yeah.
In Jewish history, it's when all the bad stuff happens. And it ends, it varies each year because it's based on a lunar calendar, not a solar calendar. So it always moves around a little bit, which throws people off here in the West. But uh, tomorrow, Sunday the 3rd, is the first of those dates that goes for about a month into September. And uh, the key date being that September date. And where Trump was at with the 50 days was going to put you somewhere up there closer to that 9th of date. Now he's moved it back. And what he's doing is for the occultists that we really are playing against across the world, he's owning the clock. He's owning the calendar. He didn't
Stealing
even
the
give them
dates. Stealing the dates.
yes, and he didn't even give them an exact date. He says 10 or 12 days. So now their calculations look at days and times and hours is thrown off. This is not what most people understand it to be. He's playing with people that are cultists. And remember, this isn't just Russia versus America. This is a globalista. A number of different groups are trying to create the prelude, the setting for World War III to occur. And based out of the East, a war between the three great Abrahamic religions that they want. What Trump's doing is drilling holes in the foundation of that lead up to war and making it harder for them to pull it off on time. Now, a lot of people think that Trump's in on that. He's not. It's part of the chess to do that, and he's trying to take the wind out of their wings. Uh, and there's a lot of minutia that goes into this to pull something like this off to stop them, and uh, challenging them and forcing them to come out. You know, Medvedev taking on Trump. Well, think of it. That'd be like Vance taking on Putin. Okay, Medvedev's not president. He's acting like he's still
But he
president.
could be. He could be at some point, correct?
It could be. Right. And so part of the question is he actually pulling the strings behind the scenes because Putin's not as viable as he appears to be? Trump's calling his bluff. And he's also making Putin have to decide, is he going to come out and be the good cop and try to solve this thing? Trump's bringing this to a head. One of the most important things in combat, in war, in strategy, is you may have two great forces that everybody knows are about to start a fight, just like he had at Gettysburg. But what happened was that a minor twist of fate, a chance encounter between a couple of peripheral groups within the two armies, came across each other while they're trying to dig in and look for places to hang out and get ready for the big fight. That fight started Gettysburg. And then, because of the direction of the wind moving towards the Union troops, the air carried the sound of the battle to people up to 20 miles away, and the Union troops came running. But on the other side, their troops didn't hear the gunshots, the cannons being fired off, even as close as a mile away, because the wind was blowing away from them. They didn't hear it. The wind carried the noise. So the Union troops showed up first and in numbers, and that determined the fate of that engagement. It was a hand of God, act of God thing. Right now, with what's being happened, you could turn around and say that the earthquake was a hand of God thing. There's other things that could be in play. Uh, Even Putin being not as healthy as the West uh, lets it be said that he is, or they're trying to project out of Russia. There's 1,000 ways this could be changed in a dime, and you're in that ninth of period where both sides want to own these events that pretend a certain way, including the situation in Gaza. So there's a lot in play that most people just, it's not even on their radar. They just can't think that deep. It's just, whatever's on the headline. And remember this, what you're hearing about this is really being pushed only by a tiny handful of people. You've only got four major media groups, arguably, maybe five in the West that are controlling everything you hear about what's going on. So do you really understand, or are you brainwashed about what's really going on in this situation, uh, right this second?
I agree with that. Juan, I know you're busy it looks like you're in a Uber or a cab or something. And you're kind of
Well, actually,
spotty.
I'll tell you what, we're taking a few minutes break, and I'll tell you what's fun. We're going to see a musical that's extremely highly rated, uh, called the movie Operation Mincemeat is one of Jen's favorites. So we're about to go into the theater for Operation Mincemeat, the musical, and so we're about to have some real fun, and it's very highly rated. It's
Well, man, we timed it just right. Right when I said that, it looks like you just got there.
Yeah, we did. Here we are. Uh,
Oh, nice.
it's very highly rated. It's in places all over the world. Um, but we're going to see that we're pretty in the thick of it here in London. But fun to take a break for a few
Well,
minutes and do this.
you enjoy yourself, Juanito, and let's continue this on Nino's Corner.tv. I want to talk about the SES switch over from SES to NORAD and Cheyenne, and why this crucial moment is so important.
Yep, super.
All right, Juanito, enjoy your time. And folks, go to thejennifermack.com, thejennifermack.com.
Well, she's got some coins there that are we're only down to a handful of them that she has in her site. We allocated them over there. So if anybody wants some of the rare ones that are going away, she has a count on how many are left, and then those are done. So if anybody wants them, they're there.
You got it, Juanito. Enjoy yourself, Juan.
All right, bro.
All right.
Talk later.